Good afternoon. Today is the 30th of November and it's time to talk about something that I've been asked about a few times over the last week or so, and that is the 2023 London Ultra Low Emission Zone expansion. Now, I have made more than 10 videos on this channel in the last 4 years about ultra low emission and clean air zones in London, Bristol, Birmingham and other places, and so this really isn't anything new. The London Ultra Low Emission Zone was first mooted in 2017, soon after the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, who is not really a friend of the channel, actually mooted it first. And actually, one of the things I always say to people when they say, why don't you talk about diesels on your channel? And the reason is because my mother and I sold our cars which were not compliant with the ultra low emission zone in 2017 when it was first announced. My car was 3 years old, my mother's car was 7 years old, and the idea that you have to get rid of cars that were that new due to what was coming up in April 2019 was a little bit ridiculous to us. And so the phrase "we don't talk about diesels on this channel" was born, really, because a year before I'd got rid of my car for that reason, because I wasn't paying £12.50 a day to, go and work in, in London. I knew by that stage, even though it was coming to a greater area in 2021, and I was like, well, I don't really need this car. That's not gonna work for me that way. So we sold our cars then, and we got petrol ones. My mother's still got hers, of course. I've since obviously changed my car twice. So the ultra low emission zone started as quite a small sort of area. It was a very small area actually. It was only the old congestion charge zone, which actually hasn't changed since 2011. It was reduced slightly then because it was originally in Kensington and Chelsea, and actually that was then pushed back a little bit. But that area has been the same for a really long time. The ultra low emission and congestion charge zones only used to operate at certain times of the day, but since I think it's 2020 or 2021, they've operated every single day, all day, which I'm sure has increased revenue for certain people. It was only originally that central zone with congestion charges. It was then expanded in October 2021 to the North and South Circular, where it remains today, and the charge has been £12.50 a day for vehicles that are not compliant for quite a long time. Now, back in June, I made a video about this planned expansion of the ultra low emission zone, where I was actually driving from the boundary of Greater London back from a job I'd done that day, and the zone is massive, the new one. It was only projected at the time, it was supposed to be in discussions, but I kind of knew, and everybody sort of knew at the time, when it was supposed to be in discussion and in consultation, but it was going to happen anyway. And of course it has, and from August 2023 the ultra low emission zone in London is the whole of the Greater London area. All the boroughs of London are going to be within it. That includes Heathrow Airport, by the way, which is insane, but there we go. It's just the way it is. Heathrow is actually in Greater London. So what vehicles are not compliant with it? Well, it's not actually, it's quite as simple as I often claim it is. It's not just vehicles with engines that we can't talk about. It's actually petrol cars between 1982 and ostensibly 2006, but obviously there are actually some exceptions to that. So my Renault 45 V6, that is a 2003. That is compliant with the ultra low emission in London. Not the Birmingham one for some reason, but the London one, yes, that's absolutely fine. In fact, there are cars from 2001 onwards that often are. You have to check on an individual basis. Like, there are sort of vague categories of car that I know just because of experience, but anything before January 2006 and it's a petrol car, just check, because the emission standard is actually Euro 4. So if your car's Euro 4, then it's fine. But virtually anything from January 2006 to petrol engine is fine. Also, anything that's a historic vehicle is absolutely fine. And from 2023, it will be anything from 1982 or backwards. You have to, I think, apply for an exemption or something like that. You have to make sure you do that. Obviously, then you are tax exempt, MOT exempt, and ultra emission zone exempt, which is appealing to some people. I would advise you, of course, to always have an MOT on a car, regardless of its age. It's just a basic safety thing. I think I'd always recommend that. But if that's what you want to do, and that's what a lot of classic car dealerships are now advertising in London, that their cars from 82 and before will be exempt from all these things, then that's up to you. Also, if you have a diesel vehicle, I know we don't mention this on the channel, I've got other reasons why, but for the sake of people who have them and need to come in for sort of business purposes, it needs to be a Euro 6. That means September 2015 and later. The cars my mother had, which were 2010 or 2014, were not Euro 6 compliant, and so we had to get rid of them, pretty much, if you wanted to go anywhere near there, because even back in 2017 we had this feeling that these zones were going to come everywhere, and Bristol's just got one, Birmingham's got one, Manchester's sort of talking about it, Portsmouth's kind of going to get one. It's just for sort of taxis and I think commercial vehicles at the moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if that Portsmouth one comes for private cars as well. Bath is the same, that's very similar to Portsmouth. These things are going to be cropping up absolutely everywhere, so you just need to know about it. I know Ian Seabrook's done a video on this on his channel. I know Mr. Hunter from Jeff Buys Cars has done one on his channel, but I've been asked as well. I was reluctant to do it because I've already done one months ago when I knew it was probably going to happen, and obviously now it has. One of my friends, my name Mr. Curry, who Ian Seabrook also mentioned, is responsible for trying to save these cars from the Greater London area by leaving notes on them. I've actually driven a number of them on the channel. One of them that now belongs to a friend of ours called Martinho actually did come from North London. It's a Hyundai Pony, XT Pony, and that has been saved, and I've driven it. And others as well. He's very keen to go around and place notes on cars, and then these cars can be saved from £12.50 a day. Now bear in mind, you do not have to pay if your car doesn't move. If your car is parked in the ultra emission zone and it doesn't move, you don't have to pay. It's only if you're actually going somewhere within the zone. So yeah, anywhere in Greater London. There's also a scrappage scheme that's going to be introduced from January 2023 when applications open. But if you live within the Greater London area and you have a non-compliant car, now bear in mind you have to have owned it for at least 12 months from the start of application, which I think is the end of January, about 30th of January I think it is. You have to have owned it for at least 12 months with your name on the V5, and you have to be in receipt of certain types of benefit. I'm not going to list them here because they're too complicated for me to remember, but I'll leave a link in the description below so you can have a look and just see if you are qualifying in this particular instance. So it's £2,000 for a car, £1,000 for a motorcycle, and I think it's £5,000 for a wheelchair accessible vehicle. Those are the criteria. You have to just fill the form in. You have to qualify for the benefits, and you have to have a non-compliant vehicle that you've owned for at least 12 months to get these grants. You also might actually get a free travel pass as well, depending on the circumstances, obviously. So, well, where does that leave us? Well, the Bromley Pageant of Motoring that's happening in June 2023 is something I want to bring my Volvo C70 to. That's a 1998, so it's petrol, no chance of being compliant. But because it's before August 2023, that event can go ahead without any problems. And they've actually released a statement over the last couple of days saying, don't worry about the expansion of the ultra emission zone. If you want to go to Bromley Pageant, it will be okay. You're going to be fine. After that, I don't know if that's going to be quite the same effect. If everyone who's going in there has a car between about 82 and early 2000s with petrol, and with the forbidden fuel one, to see the even bigger windows like September 2015, whether they want to pay £12.50 to go into the zone and the event. That's something that we'll have to debate later, but that's the impact on some things. Obviously there's much bigger impacts on people who, well, they don't qualify for these benefits, and they don't really want to have to, you know, pay to have their car replaced because they like it and it's working. But unfortunately there's no exemptions to this, other than what I've already mentioned. This is why we all talk about on this channel, it's the Mayor of London, his friends all over the country who are responsible for what we can't talk about. That's just the way that it is. Anyway, thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment below, and we shall see you again soon for more surprisingly accurate information. Lloyd Young Consulting stickers, t-shirts and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below.